sat down to write this speech, there were so many beautiful things about Dad that I wanted to say. I didn't know where to begin. How do you begin to speak about a man who taught all of us so much about how to live his life? Although incredibly difficult, this reminds me not to feel sorrow for Dad's death, but to feel grateful that his presence has touched every person in this room, and so very many more. When I look at my daddy, I see a reflection of myself, and Rain, and Shane, and Ian, and all the wonderful things he has taught us. He was so proud of all of us and the lives we have created for ourselves, and his influence shines through in all of us. We say that the hour of death cannot be forecast, but when we say this, we imagine that hour as placed in some obscure location in some far distant future. It never occurred to us that it had any connection to the day already begun, or that death could arrive that very afternoon, an afternoon that was so certain, and every hour planned in advance. If you are one of the lucky ones in your life, you will meet a person that will change your life forever. I am one of those lucky ones because I had that person every day for 39 years, and for that I am grateful. Everyone who knew Dad knew that he was one of those people that once you met him, you knew. You knew that your life had changed in the best possible way. They say that dying isn't scary for the ones who are dying, but for the ones who are left to grieve. Let's let it not be a death, but a completeness, to know that he lived and he loved with his whole heart and his whole soul. At 5 years old, Daddy was the one who would carry you around on his shoulders so you could have the same view that he did. And no matter how long his day was, or how tired he was, he always had time to eat one of our delicious mud pies or play kickball in the backyard. At 10 years old, Daddy was the one who taught us to fish and never told a single soul that I peed my pants with excitement when I caught my first fish. That very impressive 1-inch guppy that he was so proud of. And he taught us to throw a mean softball. And even though at times we only had one glove, he would never hesitate to catch whatever you could throw at him with his bare hands, even if it meant me breaking his wedding ring with a line drive to his face. And of course, he taught us to rake and pick up piles of grass, which, I can't lie, was one of the worst chores he ever taught me to do. And recently, which I was reminded of. To this day, I still don't break my own yard. Thanks, Dad. At 12 years old, he was the man who sat at the kitchen table every night with me for hours, teaching me how to do math. And he would get so frustrated with me that he would never give up on me until I learned what I needed to learn. That is the man that he was. He never gave up on any of us. No matter the struggle we faced, he was always there to teach us and guide us and remind us that no matter how hard we get hit, it's how many times that we get up that matter. At 15 years old, he was the man who was at every basketball game that Rain and I played in. Win or lose, he was always proud of us, always supporting us in every way that he could. He was the man coaching the t-ball team that Ian played on. And no matter how long he worked, how tired he was, or how hot it was outside, he always showed up for us. He was the one reading and collecting comic books and taking Shane to the baseball card shops on Saturday mornings for a new card or a new comic. Every chance he got, no matter how tight when he was just always there. At 17 years old, when I had my first date, he was the man grilling my date for an hour just to make sure he was okay and good enough for his little girl. He was the man who showed up for me when I got my heart broken for the first time, taking me to my senior prom after my date stood me up, and we danced all night long. It was the best prom I could have had. At 18 years old, he was the man who put me on a plane to start my life. And even when I failed the first time, he wasn't mad or disappointed. He just picked me up and dusted me off and told me to get back out there because life wasn't done with me yet. At 25 years old, he was the man still kicking our asses in basketball in the backyard, still working from dawn to dusk, still taking the same sack lunch, one sandwich, one bag of chips, one Coke, and one candy bar, and of course, one book to read. He was the one still giving us advice, which at the time seemed intrusive and unnecessary. But looking back, it was advice that was always taken. He was a man of great life knowledge and would always say to us, "I only say these things because I love you." No matter how much it hurt at the moment, you knew he was always right. And on this day, at 39, he is still teaching us the value of life and love. He used humor to comfort us when we needed it most, looking out for all of the ones that he loved. When I was 8 years old, he went out hunting, as usual, for a Saturday morning in October. A few hours later, we received a call from Aunt Nell. He had had an accident. He had fallen out of his deer stand and was badly injured. And all I can remember of that day was the moment I saw him laying in the backseat of Mom's car, all broken and bloody, horrified at the thought of losing my daddy. I was terrified, and he could sense how scared I was. And I remember him telling me that it would be okay, and not to worry. And then followed that up with the unmistakable John Huber, saying to me, "Do you believe after all this crap, I still miss that damn squirrel?" And that was all I needed to hear, and I knew it would be okay. Every one of us has our own special memories of Dad. He was a man of great integrity, a man who demanded respect and gave the same, a man who wouldn't tell you a lie just to comfort you. The truth was always given and expected in return. I can't think of a single person who ever met him that was not touched by him in some way. He would be so very happy to see all the faces here, knowing that he had an impact on all of your lives. Rest your head, my weary traveler. This lifelong journey now at its end. Say goodbye to those who mourn you, your acquaintances, your family, and your friends. Steadfast Daddy and noble Father, all your duties are now complete. Your reward is a new adventure. Take this gift and be at peace. Leave behind the tears of loved ones. Lay your heavy burden down. Cast aside your worn-out body. Pain and suffering now be gone. Just ahead, your family is waiting, who have passed already through that door, anticipating your arrival. A celebration is in store. Prepare to step beyond that door, separating you from us. Answers to all of life's mysteries, this and more you shall possess. Thoughts of you bring us comfort. You are in our hearts and you are not gone. And in our time we'll come and join you. One last farewell and carry on. May you find a comfort in death that eluded you in the last weeks of your life. Rest in peace, knowing that you did an amazing job at this thing we call life. Go be with your mother and your father and your sister. They have been waiting a long time for you. And may the ones you leave behind find comfort in knowing that you are at peace and finally reunited with the ones that you love. I love you, Daddy.
Thank you, Leslie, for honoring your daddy today. I have been in attendance in many services, but I've never heard a more beautiful memorial than Leslie did. She brought other things to my memory that I had kind of let slip about that special lunch they always had in that South. When she told, I remembered I could just see it pulling it out and getting ready to eat that lunch. And then he'd read that book for a bit. The family has asked if there are others who would like to share a memory. So if there's someone else that would like to share a memory, you're welcome to come before we complete the service. This is his daughter, Rain.
I wasn't sure if I was going to speak, so mine will be a little bit more disjointed. But I felt like it was important for people to know, because not everybody knows that Daddy was not my biological dad. But no one would ever know that, because at 2 years old, he took me in like his real daughter. And I remember when we were little, and I see Aaron here somewhere from when we were 5, and even my friends who knew me that long didn't know for the longest time that he really wasn't my daddy from a biological standpoint. And they say that, you know, when you have a parent, you have to love them and they have to love you, but someone chooses to take you in, that's something special. And he never treated me like anything other than he did the rest of us. And no one would ever know. And I feel like I'm a pure scientific example of nurture versus nature, because there's so many ways that I'm like him that's just sort of stunning. Many people who know me would say that there's a couple things about me that just about everyone says. One is that I'm stubborn. And 2 is that I'm a hard worker. And there's not another person that exemplifies those things other than my dad. So I feel special and blessed because I could have been a person who didn't have a daddy in the world, and I got the best daddy. And that takes a special person to do that. For those of you who didn't know that, I wanted you to know that about him. The other thing is just, you know, we've been traveling the city for the last week, and the amount of people who talk about his sense of humor has just been probably the one thing everybody mentions the most. And one of the funniest things that I remember is he was an English major. A lot of people didn't know that, and a business major. And he decided he wanted to paint houses for his life because that's what he wanted to do. He didn't want to have a boss. He didn't want